Hello and good morning for some, good afternoon for others, and good evening for the rest of you. This is Phantom, and we are back with Chapter 20 of For the Ones We Love, written by Flim Brothers on FIM Fiction. If you want to check out the story yourself, link will be in the description, as well as a link to Brad's channel, who helped me out on this chapter, previous chapters, and future chapters. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is Chapter 20, The Mare.
Purpose? What a silly question. Purpose. You see, there are some people in this world, some irredeemable lumps of flesh for whom a means does not require an end. I speak, of course, of myself.
A quote by Major Alucard Wesker.
Are those dragons?
Gasped Twilight as she, her friends, and the two princesses gazed out the window. They were gazing out as the dragon army descended onto the battlefield. The ponies watched in awe as a large hulking beast tore through the ranks of Conquest's army. For a brief moment, things looked bright. There was still hope.
Well, I'll be damned,
Gasped Luna.
Maybe we didn't need to assemble the elements after all.
Better safe than sorry, sister,
Commented Celestia.
Still, I think the girl's presence is no longer required.
She motioned to the door.
Come, my little ponies, let us quickly get to the underground caves. We'll be much safer there until this is all over.
The other mares nodded in agreement as they all started to head to the large doors that led out of the throne room and towards the safety of the mines. Only Fluttershy stayed at the window.
Girls?
The timid mare whispered.
Come on, Fluttershy. Let's get out of here before Conquest shows up or something.
It's too late for that, dearie.
A satanic voice chuckled. The 8 mares gasped as a door swung open. Leaning against the door frame, a tall, dark alicorn was drenched in blood. His white teeth flashed as he smiled. His gray, misty mane flowed in the non-existent wind. And those glowing eyes, the eyes that burned with the hatred towards all life, pulsing with psychotic laughter and anger that would render even the most savage monster as useless as a newborn puppy. They were the eyes that the world feared. The eyes of evil, death, and chaos. They were the eyes of the apocalypse. They were the eyes of Dark Conquest.
Well, that was fun.
He laughed as he wiped some of the blood off his body.
I haven't gone on a rampage like that since... where are my manners?
He reached out a hoof towards the group of terrified ponies.
I'm Dark Conquest, incarnation of evil and your eventual murderer.
But, what in the world?
Stuttered Celestia.
Why, Tia, I thought you'd be happy to see your dear old brother again.
Grinned the dark alicorn.
And Luna, why don't you give your big brother a hug?
He expanded his hooves, expecting some pony to actually embrace him.
How did you get past the guards? How did you even get here?
Asked Celestia.
That's actually a really funny story.
Smiled Conquest.
It's a really funny story indeed. In fact, I think I'll tell you all about it over tea.
Tea?
It was all a trick, a friggin' distraction,
Moaned Spike in his mind as he flew at breakneck pace towards the castle.
It's Conquest. You should have seen this coming. He didn't move an inch the whole time. He's always moving, always taunting and laughing. The fact that he shut up for more than 3 seconds shouldn't give him away.
He looked below him to witness the battle beneath him. The dragons had made all the difference in the battle. What little of Conquest's forces would be vanquished within the hour. All that remained was him.
By the goddess.
He landed in the courtyard of the Canterlot Castle, or at least what was left of it. It was the very picture of hell. All across the courtyard lay dead ponies and mules. Some were torn to bits and pieces. Others were drowned in puddles of their own blood. The trees in the yard had their branches stripped of leaves and replaced with petrified bodies of ponies. Every direction the dragon looked, he saw death. Unnecessary death and destruction. It made his stomach tie up in knots.
Dragon?
A strained voice, barely audible, called out. Spike looked around. Somewhere in the debris of corpses, someone was still alive.
Hello? Is any pony still alive? Over here.
From the corner of his eye, he spotted a blue unicorn waving him over, hiding within a fallen shack. Spike quickly rushed over to the small little sanctuary hidden within the rubble.
What's your name, unicorn?
Dragoon. I was one of the ponies assigned to protect the castle. We had thought that we would catch a break when the dragons all came. But we didn't expect that black pony to come.
The dragon frowned. It was Conquest, wasn't it? Is that what he's called? Well, regardless, when he came hard. Knocking down the gates, he destroyed everything. He destroyed us and boom, an entire platoon blew up. Where is he now? He went into the castle. You need to stop him, dragon. The blue unicorn pleaded. Spike nodded. Stay here and see if anyone else survived. I have an alicorn to stop. He left the unicorn, walking towards the doors of the castle. With a heavy sigh, he pushed open the door and walked in. He was not prepared for what was inside. The main entrance hallway was red. Completely red. This was saying something considering the hallways were white that morning. There was no bodies, no skeletons, no life whatsoever. Just blood. By the goddess! Gasped Spike as he walked down the hall, stepping into the shallow crimson puddles. How on earth did he do this?
You don't want to know.
Spike turned around. Tucked around the corner, behind the massive door, was a blood-soaked pony. If Spike didn't know his voice so well, Kerphoof would have been completely unrecognizable.
Never thought I'd be so happy to see you, iguana,
muttered the bloody pony. The stallion emerged from behind the door. There seemed to be a slight limp in his step, and he wasn't putting much pressure on his front right hoof, but other than that, he seemed fine. Kerphoof, what happened?
Conquest happened,
he sneered.
Bastard walks in here like a big shot, and then everything goes black. I wake up and I'm covered in blood and every pony's gone. And he's standing over me, laughing that terrible laugh of his.
He reached down on the ground, searching around the blood.
I took a spear and drove it through his neck, but it bent around him like the spear was made of rubber.
I'm surprised he didn't kill you. Kerphoof frowned.
Apparently, it was all part of the plan,
he said sarcastically.
Do you know what that means? Do you know what his plan is?
Yeah, kill everything, Spike said, scratching his chin.
Well, he's not doing a good job at it.
That's what I mean. There were ponies outside that were alive as well. Why didn't he kill them? He's more capable than doing it.
So you wanted him to kill me? And you wonder why I hate you?
Spike facepalmed. That's not what I meant. I meant that it doesn't seem in Conquest nature to let ponies live if you can help it. It concerns me greatly.
What concerns me,
grunted Kerphoof as he finally fished out a spear from the blood,
is that there is a thing heading towards the princesses, and you're trying to figure out a psychopath.
The dragon shook his head. You're right. We need to stop him now. He offered a claw to the blood-soaked guard. Kerphoof sighed as he took the claw in a hoofshake. I'm sorry if I did anything to piss you off.
It's not you, dragon. It's that I've had bad experiences with them.
Like what?
Rather not talk about it. Besides, we don't have time for long life stories. We have a princess to save after all.
The two nodded as they walked down the hallway. It was a short walk to the end of the hall, and as they turned the corner, they saw more bodies. Stacks upon stacks of ponies impaled on racks of dark crystallized spikes. There was one pony, kneeling next to another lying on the ground. Come on, Bee, wake up! That alicorn's gone! The conscious one muttered. We need to get out of here before he comes back. What happened here? Spike asked, startling the guard. Stallion quickly drew his spear off the ground and pointed it towards the dragon. Stay back! I'm warning you! He threatened. Don't make me drive this spear through your head!
Hot shield, stand down!
Barked Kerphoof.
What in blazing hell happened here?
Sorry, Commander Kerphoof. I didn't realize it was you. He lowered his spear. We were assigned to protect the main hallway towards the throne room. I was expecting to fight griffins and minotaurs. Not, well, whatever that thing was.
What happened here?
Not quite sure. When the alicorn thing first attacked, he started springing up these spikes. We had no way of defending from this kind of magic. I didn't even know one could do something like that. I almost got hit myself, but I only got flung into the air and got knocked out. By the time I came to, every pony was dead. He looked down at the deep purple Pegasus that was still unconscious. Well, except for Bunsen. Conquest just walked right up to her and she just fainted. The guy must have thought it was funny because he just started laughing and continued walking. And the princesses? Are they okay? The red unicorn shook his head. I don't know, but the last thing I heard was something about a tea party. That's not good, muttered Spike to himself. Kerphoof, stay here with Hart. See if you can get Bunsen out of here. There was a pony outside the gates that's still alive. Go meet up with him and try to find any more survivors. He started to walk away.
And what are you going to do?
Barked Curbhoof. Spike turned his head around.
I'm going to save Equestria,
he said, turning around and continued walking towards the large doors that led to the throne room. He took a deep breath. Who knows what sort of terrible trap awaited him on the other side of the door?
What the hell did he mean by a tea party?
Conquest was probably the last pony that should be throwing a tea party. Of any party, for that matter. Without further delay, he pushed the doors to the throne room open. He wasn't prepared for what he saw.
Hello, dragon. I'm so happy you could make it.
A long, narrow table was set up across the room. On it was a large quantity of tea kettles and ladles, along with hundreds of platters with an assortment of different party food, ranging from strangely red sandwiches to disturbing-looking cookies. It was a tea party out of hell itself, and he was the host, sitting at the far end of the table, in a top hat, monocle, and waistcoat.
Please, take a seat.
Conquest said, pointing to the chair on the complete opposite side from him. The dragon, confused, took a seat, observing the rest of the table.
Where are they?
Demanded Spike.
Where's who?
Grinned Conquest.
The princesses and my friends!
Yelled the dragon, slamming his fist on the table, the kettles and trays shaking from the vibrations.
Oh, those ponies. They're around here somewhere.
What did you do to them?
Nothing. Yet. We'll see what kind of mood I'm in after tea. Speaking of which, would you care for a cup?
Of tea you made? I'll pass.
But it's so good, dragon. Better than incest. But let's not get distracted.
He poured himself a cup of the dark liquid and sipped on the cup.
So, here we are, dragon. After all this time, can you really believe that I'm here, sipping tea with my favorite dragon? It's like a dream come true for me.
More like a nightmare,
Muttered the dragon.
Where are my friends?
Patience, Spike.
Snickered Conquest, picking up a tray of pulsing sandwiches.
Here, have one of my special sandwiches. I made them with my secret recipe. Want to know the secret?
I'd rather not.
It's love. And grounded up squirrels. I really love my squirrels.
The dark alicorn plopped one of the sandwiches into his mouth.
Stop avoiding the question! Where are my friends and the princesses?
Oh, by the unholy name that is divinely so. You are so freaking annoying sometimes.
Conquest droned, rolling his eyes.
I swear, you make me want to give myself a lobotomy sometimes.
I could help you with that. Right after you tell me what the hell you did with my friends.
Fine.
Groaned Conquest as his horn started to glow.
I'll tell you what I did with your precious friends as soon as you answer a very important question.
What?
What are you willing to do to defeat me?
What kind of question is that? I'll do anything to stop you.
The alicorn smiled as his eyes started to pulse with red energy.
Good.
There was a flash of red light as Spike quickly shut and covered his eyes. The light seemed to almost be burning him. He could feel the heat building up in his armor. Whatever this was, it was the strongest outburst of magic that he ever saw. When Spike opened his eyes, he saw that his friends had appeared, along with the princesses. They all looked like they had been hit with a runaway train. Their bodies and faces were cut, bruised, and gouged. Tears ran down their eyes, but they could not scream. Their mouths had been gagged and their bodies constrained with what looked like thorn bushels.
There's your friends, dragon.
Smiled the insane pony.
I fear I got a little bored of waiting, so I had a little fun. You know, it's been over 80 years since I last indulged in the sacred act of torture.
Spike was left speechless. His best friends, the one he had known his entire life, laid half dead in a pile on the ground. Rainbow's wings were bent and disfigured, as if Conquest had taken the extra time to break every single bone in her wings. Applejack's face had been cut up. The carve seemed to be more artistic than savage slashes, as if the alicorn had used the knife to draw a mustache and a monocle on her face. Fluttershy was crying. Her face looked worse than when Spike found her in the closet. She looked absolutely petrified with fear. He could only imagine what that bastard must have shown her, or told her. Pinkie Pie wasn't smiling. That wasn't a good sign. Her hair and her tail were reverted to its straightness, covering up half her face and her tearing eyes. Twilight's horn was broken, snapped off her head. All that was left of her powerful horn was a little stump. The lavender mare was unconscious. The pain of having such an important part of her being torn off must have been too much for her, or too painful. Princess Celestia and Princess Luna seemed to be the least hurt, whether it was because they were alicorns or just because Conquest had shown them mercy. He didn't know, but he highly doubted his later thoughts. They were all there, all in painful misery because of Conquest. There was one more thing missing from the group, the white mare that he had fell in love with.
Where's Rarity? What did you do to her?
I did what I do with all the little pretty faces I meet.
In front of him, a red cocoon emerged from the ground. Inside the cocoon, there was a mare sleeping in stasis. Rarity's body was curled up in a bloody ball as she hovered in her crimson prison.
Rarity!
Yelled the dragon, running over to the red cone that guarded his love. He placed his claws against the hard Cretan surface. He could feel it pulsing against his hand, like a steady heartbeat.
What happened to her?
Do you remember, Spike?
Asked Conquest as he shook off his hat and monocle, throwing them aside.
The very first day we met.
He smiled as he brushed a hoof on the cocoon that held Rarity, looking at the dragon through the red rock.
I don't.
Well, let me remind you.
The alicorn gave the crimson prison a few taps. Immediately it started to crack, slowly, but the cocoon eventually shattered, the mare falling into Spike's arms.
Rarity!
Gasped Spike, tenderly catching the mare. She seemed to be conscious, just barely though. Her gentle panting and barely open eyes were proof of that.
Rarity, please say something! What did he do to you?
Her eyes started to open a bit more as she stared at the dragon.
Spike, is that you? It's me, Rarity,
Smiled Spike.
It's okay. I got you. You're safe now.
I might be safe.
She smiled as her eyes fully opened.
But who's going to protect you?
She placed a hoof on his chest.
Don't worry. I'll be fine. I'm not afraid of Conquest.
You shouldn't worry about him.
Her horns started to glow.
You should be worried about me.
What?
A blast of concentrated energy blasted into Spike's face. The point-blank shot wasn't strong enough to break through his helmet, but it was enough to stagger him, dropping Rarity in the process.
What was that for?
The dragon asked as he fell to the ground, landing on his rump.
For being a treacherous little lizard. Why on earth would you try to hide the fact that you are cheating on me? Did you think that I wouldn't find out? That I wouldn't care? That you just run off and bone any dragon that you feel like?
What are you talking about? I never cheated on you. I love you, Rarity.
Not as much as that dragon whore!
The unicorn roared, charging up another beam of magic.
If you love me so much, then why did you kiss that dragoness?
The dragoness? You mean Slotilda? But I only did that to protect you.
Lies!
Raged the mare, releasing her charge of magic at Spike. The dragon covered his face as he took a direct hit from the bolt, his gauntlets heating up a bit as they absorbed the magic.
All lies! Conquest told me the truth, because unlike you, he actually cares about me.
Conquest does not care about you. He doesn't care about anything but himself.
The dark alicorn smirked.
Then why would I actually tell her the truth, dragon? Why would I be truthful to her when all you were was a cheating bastard?
Why didn't you tell me this, Spike?
Scowled the white mare.
I thought you loved me.
I was trying to protect you.
Enough! I'm sure you two can settle this like civil beings.
He waved his hoof in the air, a large black scythe forming from nothing.
But if I were to give you this, Rarity, what would you do?
I'll kill him!
Shouted the white mare, grabbing the scythe in her hoof and lunging herself at her love. Spike grabbed the blade mid-slash as his crazy lover tried to sink the long-tipped blade into his chest.
Rarity, please stop this!
The dragon begged as he strayed the blade away from him.
Why are you listening to him?
He's opened my eyes, darling.
She cackled, her eyes starting to glow red. She lifted up the blade over her head.
For the glorious conquest!
She yelled, slamming the tip of the scythe deep into his chest. Spike cringed as he felt the tip of the scythe break his armor and dig into his skin.
No, not you. Any pony but you.
He cried. His warm tears leaked through his eyes as he witnessed the only mare that he had ever truly loved jamming the Grim Reaper's stick into his chest, trying to kill him.
Please, Rarity, you have to snap out of this. This isn't you. This isn't the kind of mare that you are.
You're the sweetest, kindest, and most generous mare that I know. You have to fight his control. He gently placed a claw on Rarity's white hoof. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you what happened in the Badlands earlier. I just wanted to protect you, to make your last night special. Spike. It's me, Spike. He smiled. That little dragon you fell in love with, the one that fell in love with you? He felt the scythe in his chest begin to wiggle out. Remember last night, we went into the observatory, and I proposed to you? You were so happy, and I was happy. We were together, as fiancés. I know that beautiful mare's inside there, so please come out, Rarity. Spike. The mare placed a hoof softly on his face. Her eyes started to flicker back to blue. You're a love-stricken idiot. She smiled, grabbing the dragon by the neck and throwing him over her shoulder. Off! Grunted Spike as he laid motionless on the ground.
This is so much fun!
Clapped the dark alicorn.
I should have brought a snack, cause this is fantastic!
He waved a hoof in the air and a bag of squirrel bones fell into his hooves.
What are you going to do?
He asked between munches.
She won't stop until you kill her, Spike, and I know you can take her.
I won't. I can't.
But Spike, whatever happened to, I will do anything to save Equestria. If you die, so do your chances of stopping me. And are you really going to let billions of lives suffer and die just because you couldn't thrust the blade into the one you love?
It's not about that, Conquest. It's about love. I know that she'll break your spell. She's stronger than you, Dark Conquest. You say that you're all-powerful, but all I've seen is a fully grown stallion hiding behind letters, armies, and innocent mares.
What are you implying, Dragon?
I think, said Spike as he got up, I think that you're afraid of me, and afraid of love. You talk a big game when you hide behind smoke and mirrors, but you're nothing more than a coward, Conquest. When you were in my head, I couldn't lay a finger on you, but now that we're in the real world, I get the pleasure of ripping you to pieces. It was difficult for Conquest to muffle his laughter, but he eventually went over the edge. He almost fell to the ground laughing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Spike, but that was too much. I mean, did you even see what I did on my way here? You're so stupid, Dragon! You may kill me with your idiocy before you can rip me apart. I am literally dying of laughter.
I'm getting sick of your laughter. Now stop hiding behind puppets and fight me!
Tell you what, Dragon, since you really want to rip me a new one, I'm going to give you a little motivation.
His eyes glowed.
Rarity, come over here for a second, will you?
Of course, Master, she said, walking towards the shadowy alicorn. She got up on her hind legs and wrapped her arms around his neck. What do you need?
Sweet Rarity,
smiled Conquest, putting a hoof around her neck.
I desire your life.
Snap. And that was chapter 20, the Mare of For the Ones We Love. Alrighty. Yeah, it was a little longer, it's been a while since I put one of these out. But I got one out, and noticeably on the new microphone. Does it sound like I'm right up inside your ear? Listening? Sorry. Yeah, so now I'm going to be recording with this thing. I'm so happy that I got this thing. It's so nice. Yep. Be sure to give the video a like, leave a comment in the description below of what you liked, didn't like, what you want to see more of, yada yada yada, and what stories you want me to read in the future, because obviously we have 8 chapters left of this. That's crazy to say after doing 20 of them. We have 8 chapters left, and then we move on to bigger and better things. So I want to hear what stories you want me to read. I think I'm going to be reading Cheerily's Garden if I don't get any requests. I may be playing Luna Game X as well. So Luna Game X, Powerless, and yeah, play those 2 games and read Cheerily's Garden in the future. So that's what I got on my plate so far. Put more on my plate, please do, because I love work. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Be sure to subscribe and follow more stuff that I do, and check out Brad's channel, who's an amazing reader and does other stuff, and go check out Flim's stuff, who's an amazing writer and does other stuff. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.